Today we're talking about another one of your title picks, and we're going to have a giveaway. So what on earth are we discussing today? We're going to talk about some Vikings and some dangerous women with fins. That is Sirens of the Norse Sea by two different writers, two different stories. Tune in and I'll tell you more than two different details. Hello everyone and welcome back to Married with Comics. I'm your host Laura and it is so wonderful to have you all here. Thank you so much for your continued support, liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting on videos. It helps us immensely and I am really, really grateful. You cannot start a holiday season without an incredible giveaway. So thanks to Kevin for donating this. We have a copy of the Usagi Yojimbo Saga Book 1, done by Stansakai, who, if you haven't heard that name in comic books, this is the series certainly that kind of made his name, and you will see him appear. He just did a cover for Deadpool. Incredible artist. Most people who really enjoy feudal Japan storylines, they are always talking about this particular storyline. I will admit that I tried just kind of taking a little sneak peek at it because I didn't want to damage the book, just to see if I was going to be interested, and I was immediately hooked. I will be buying a copy of my own, but I wanted to make sure that your copy was immaculate and free from me kind of flipping through it. So, I at least managed to catch the first couple pages and see that, yeah, this is definitely one that I'm going to be reading, and I can't wait to see who wins this, and of course, your Married with Comics bookmark. But am I going to tell you how to qualify for it right now? Of course not! You have to wait until the end of the video. Just stay tuned. Before we get into, the stories and what was available within this title, let's just make sure you're familiar with the term sirens. Do you all remember the animated version of Peter Pan, where Peter Pan, Wendy, and the boys go to Neverland, and Wendy gets to meet the mermaids for the first time? There's this moment where the mermaids try to entice Wendy in for a swim, where they're basically trying to drown her. That's definitely very inspired by sirens. Sirens were known as mythological creatures and fearful to all sailors because they would be these beautiful women that would entice you into the water and then they would pull you under and kill you. So there was always this level of respect and absolute terror that you would meet a siren. Sirens certainly make an appearance in multiple different cultures, and with this one, instead of it just being a Greek mythological story or Roman story, it is our Vikings. The title that you all picked today is Sirens of the Norse Sea. So this is an intriguing title for a couple different reasons. One, it's done by humanoidscomics, except I could find very little information about the company, and when I tried looking for the writers, there was very little information about them as well. I can tell from the original title page that this was translated into English, but I can't tell the original source location, which, as you all know, I always like to have that additional information. So we have, like I've said, is two different stories within one. So the first story was written by Francoise Ruscak, and the second story was written by Gihef. However, the art is done by two different artists, but the artists tend to overlap a little bit. So they did work on both series, and that is philbriones and marcodominici. At the beginning of the story, one of the sirens is caught in a net, and when the sailors see that they have caught a siren, they kill her, which of course enrages the sirens. The sirens decide that now is the time for battle. The Vikings, on the other hand, realize their mistake, know the sirens are coming after them, and they could choose. They could either try to find a way to make peace and say this was a terrible mistake, or they could make a call to arms. And sadly, they decided to make a call to arms. So the king and leader of the Vikings is the one who is very adamant that sirens cannot be trusted and they must be defeated because the control of the water must stay with the Vikings. Sirens, on the other hand, are led by a queen, and they are the ones who are saying that they must maintain that respect and make sure that the Vikings know where they belong. However, in amidst this whole battle storyline, you have a very interesting love triangle. So you have the prince of the Vikings, who is currently sleeping with, dating a human troll female who basically is just a little bit too big to be a human and a little bit too small to be a troll. Great warrior, though. So the two of them are in a relationship, and then the prince meets the daughter of the queen of the sirens, and the two of them fall in love. So I'm sure you can only imagine what happens when you have a love triangle and you have this epic raging battle of a starstruck love story and what possibly could happen. Sure, the first storyline is predictable, but I still enjoyed it. The second storyline is the one that I will say made me think about it the most. Storyline number 1, I really wish that there was a part 2. I wanted more from those characters and I wanted to hear more from that storyline. Part 2, on the other hand, is where I get this beautiful cover, which kind of inspired me to pick up the book in the first place and start flipping through it. It was this incredible image of this female Viking warrior against a siren. You find out, of course, that this female Viking is actually the best warrior of all the Vikings. And there's one moment where, she's supposed to be doing a practice match against the prince of this Viking clan, which is very different from the first clan. And she intentionally throws the match just so that way he can win, and his father certainly doesn't get any more upset. But you do get this slight hint that the son is not as battle ready as he could be. You do find out that the two of them are in love, and it's part of the reason why she doesn't want him to look bad in front of his father. So what's interesting with the second story is that instead of it being a more at the sea type of battle situation, instead the sailors capture a siren and they bring her back. And as we're learning more about the siren, we start learning more about that female Viking warrior and realizing that she does have a tie to the sirens. I won't tell you what the tie is. All I will say is there's a history there. And it's a very interesting one as that character is learning some of her own history. And then you see certainly this kind of epic battle moment where it's her and the Vikings against the sirens. And deciding, does that history make a difference? Does learning who you are help? And that extra little twist of the history of that main character made the story for me. And that element is part of what made me question the story so much. Because there's a decision that the character makes that I understand and yet I disagree with at the exact same time, which is, again, great storytelling. That it can be a debatable point. So I finished the storyline and I remember telling Kevin, great friend, who, like I said, did the giveaway, and he asked me what I thought about the book. And I kept telling him that I'm still thinking about it, and I couldn't decide whether I loved this book or if it's just haunting me. And finally I decided that it is haunting me, but in a good way. This is not one of those, storylines where something wicked this way comes or something, weird. This was just a very interesting tale, some really interesting characters, and this sort of final moment where you sit there and you wonder, could things have been different? Was really the decision that was made in this storyline the best, considering now we know the outcome? And those kind of moments where you have that 20/20 hindsight and you wonder, well, if you had made this decision instead of that decision, what would have happened? Would this epic battle between the Vikings and the Sirens still have taken place? Because clearly it did in the first story. But the battle in the second one is happening for different reasons. So I loved the two different stories and how they were different and yet similar elements, of course. But I also loved that the artwork, of course, was pretty consistent throughout the entire storyline. So even though you're getting two separate stories in one, it didn't feel like they were terribly disjointed. And one of the things that I really liked at the end is, if you weren't familiar with sirens, they do give a little bit of that historical background, but then they also explain some of the artistic choices for the different types of sirens that they created for this story. I thought that was really cool. They did a great job incorporating some really fun monsters, and it was a really fun, epic story. Now, as for our delightful giveaway, what I want to know down in the comments section to qualify for this beautiful giveaway is I want to know of all of the videos that have been posted on this channel, whether they were under Brown Coat Reviews, our previous channel name, or Married with Comics, I want to know which video was your favorite and why. And I will announce our giveaway in our next video. And I look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Have a great day, everyone.